Hello friends, so today we are going to start a new chapter called the life processes. Okay, so life processes is the chapter of biology in class 10th NCERT. ओके CBSE जो बोर्ड है उसका ये चैप्टर है बायोलॉजी का क्लास 10th में. ठीक है, तो यहाँ से हम स्टार्ट करते हैं 10th क्लास की बायोलॉजी सेक्शन पढ़ना. ठीक है, तो लाइफ प्रोसेसेस जो चैप्टर है उसमें क्या है, सबसे पहले हम ये समझ लेते हैं. ठीक है, तो लाइफ प्रोसेसेस क्या होती हैं. ठीक है, लाइफ सबसे पहले लाइफ प्रोसेसेस से पहले व्हाट इज लाइफ. ठीक है, तो लाइफ क्या है, जिनमें रहती हैं उन्हें हम क्या कहते हैं, लिविंग थिंग, और जिनमें नहीं रहती हैं उन्हें हम क्या कहते हैं, नॉन लिविंग थिंग. ठीक है, तो लाइफ के लिए हमें समझना होगा लिविंग थिंग्स एंड नॉन लिविंग थिंग्स. ठीक है, तो हम कैसे पहचानते हैं, हाउ डू वी डिफरेंशिएट व्हाट इज लिविंग एंड व्हाट इज नॉन लिविंग. ओके, सो व्हेन वी सी समथिंग walking, like if we see the dog running or walking or a butterfly flying or a bird flying, then we know that it is a living thing. ठीक है, that is the criteria we have built up since our childhood. But now we are grown up and you people are in a class 10th and you know the science, you know the biology. ठीक है, so in the deeper structure we know that a organism is made up of what, a cell. Okay, and before the cell each and everything, okay, say it is living thing, say it is non-living thing, everything is made up of what, a molecule. Okay, so we know that, we know the chemistry and we know that everything is made up of some element. Okay, we know the everything is made up of some element, like if we see a stone, it is having a different kind of minerals in it. So we know that, and now we know that mineral structure, each and everything is made up of some molecules. Okay, the living things are also made up of molecules. Then what is the difference between the non-living molecules and the living molecules? Why I am saying this, the living things are made up of molecules, because we know the basic unit of life. What is the basic unit of life? The basic unit of life is cell. Okay, we know the basic, the structural and functional unit of any organism is cell. ठीक है, say it is a unicellular organism, say it is a multicellular organism, each and every living thing is basically made up of a single cell. Then this cell aggregates and it forms tissue. Okay, a single cell, there are many single cellular organisms which are called unicellular organism. For example, amoeba, for example paramecium, for example many of the bacteria, for example many of the viruses. Okay, those are also living thing and those are made up of a single cell. They are the single cell organism and they are called unicellular organism. Then more complex organism, more complex living things are made up of multiple cells which make tissue. Then multiple kind of tissue, for example different type of similar type of cells, they form a kind of tissue, and different kind of tissue they made up kind of organ. For example, if we say, we know the neuron cell now, we know the muscle cell now. So different type of muscle cell, what they form, muscle tissue. ठीक है, then nervous tissue. ठीक है, then epithelial tissue. These are different type of tissue which are formed by the similar kind of cells. Then what happens? Different type of tissue like muscle, like epithelial tissue, like adipose tissue, like nervous tissue, they aggregate and they form a single organ. For example, if we see the stomach is made up of what? It is formed by the epithelial tissue. It is a hollow structure, and that stomach wall is made up of a muscle tissue. It is made up of a epithelial tissue. It is made up of a nervous tissue. So different kind of tissue they form a organ, and different kinds of organ they form a particular system, and different kind of system they form a organism. For example, I say the stomach is made up of different kind of tissue, then stomach, intestine, then esophagus, these are different kind of organ, and they together form what? A digestive system. Okay. Then other kind of system like respiratory system, which is made up of, which is formed by the lungs, which is formed by the trachea, which is formed by the bronchi, which is formed by the nasal passages. Respiratory, they form a respiratory system. Then different kind of system like digestive system, respiratory system, nervous system. Okay, they together what they form? A organism. So we know the basic unit of life is cell, and cell is basically formed by what? Molecules. Okay. Macromolecules. Macromolecules are formed by micromolecules, ठीक है, and micromolecules are formed by atoms. Okay, in this way the basic structure is what? Molecules which together working in a cell. Okay, what kind of macromolecules? Like now we know that a cell is formed by what? Cell wall, the cell organelles. Then cell organelles are like mitochondria, ribosomes, Golgi body and nucleus. So these are what? Cell organelles. Cell organelles are formed by the different kind of molecules, macromolecules like protein, like fat. Okay, now we know the cell wall is formed by the lipid and proteins. Okay, lipid is what? Fat. Okay, so in this way now we know the macromolecules are protein, fat and carbohydrate. Okay, which are working in a cell. Okay, which form the different organelle in a cell and also the water. Okay, so these are all molecules, okay, which are working in a cell. So what is a living thing? As I said, like this is only not a difference like if something can run, if something can walk, if something can jump, then it is a living thing. No, this is only not the difference, but the difference is more beyond this. So what is the difference between living and non-living things? If we say bacteria is a living thing, so what are the processes the bacteria does? Like a bacteria eats, like a bacteria can grow in size, like a bacteria can reproduce its offspring like daughter cells, it can reproduce cells similar like it. So what a bacteria can do? Can eat. So it can take nutrition and utilize this nutrition. It can grow. So it does some metabolism, it does some chemical reaction in its cells which causes the growth in size, the growth in function and the maturation, and also it can reproduce. So what it is doing? Reproduction. Okay. Also it can breathe, it takes oxygen or it takes carbon dioxide. The anaerobic bacteria, they don't take oxygen, they don't utilize oxygen, but they utilize carbon dioxide. So in this way what they are doing? They are breathing, because we know the cell respiration. Each and every cell in a living organism has to do oxidation of glucose, और जो anaerobic bacteria होते हैं, the anaerobic organism, they utilize carbon dioxide to produce the energy by the glucose hydrolysis. So what we need, each and every cell which is aerobic in nature, they do the aerobic respiration and they utilize the oxygen and they do the oxidation of glucose, and in this way they produce the energy. Why? Because each and every living cell needs energy to maintain its body and maintains its body's function. So these are all the processes which a single living cell does. Okay, nutrition, metabolism, reproduction, breathing, and also they produce some waste material in result of those metabolism and the breathing. So these chemical reactions which are going on in the cell, and they also producing some waste material, and they cannot store that waste material in the cell because it is harmful. So they need to expel this waste material, and so this is known as excretion. Okay. So a living thing is just not doing the only the function of walking or moving. Okay, if we say that it is moving, then it will be wrong if we say a plant are living thing, but they are also living thing. Why? Because a plant can grow in size. We see a seed sprouting and then becoming a plant and then becoming a tree. Then what it is going on, what is going on? It is a growth, and so we know that plants are also a living thing. So why we are saying? Because the plants are also doing these processes, the nutrition, they take nutrition, they do metabolism, they do reproduction, because what is going on? From a seed it reproduces its same kind of plant. So what it is doing? Reproduction, and seed is produced from a plant only. So what it is doing? Reproduction. Then breathing also, we say the plant takes the carbon dioxide and they release the oxygen. So what they do? They also doing the breathing, but that is not the breathing, because the plant also need oxygen for the cellular respiration, and they take carbon dioxide in order to produce their nutrition, and that process is known as photosynthesis. Okay, so now we know these are the processes a living thing has to do. Then what is a living thing? How can we define a living thing? If a living thing and non-living thing both are made up of the molecules, how we can say a living cell is living? Why we say a cell is living? So there is a definition of a living thing. So living things are organization of molecules okay okay so living thing or living cell is a organization of molecule. Which molecules? Such kind of molecules, and also some micromolecules also. So the living thing are organization of molecules which perform some life processes, like growth, metabolism, breathing, circulation, and reproduction to maintain body's structure and function. Okay, so now we know why we call a living thing organization of molecules because it is made up of certain molecules only. Okay, and now why we call them living? Because they are performing some life processes, and life processes are what? Nutrition, metabolism, reproduction, breathing, excretion, and breathing and digestion. These are all known as life processes, and living things are those which are performing these life processes to maintain its body structure. If these life processes will stop, the body structure and function will be lost. So a living thing needs to perform these life processes to keep them alive. And why we call them living thing? Because in a living cell, the molecules are performing these life processes, and so we call them living. So this is the difference between the living and non-living thing, and these are the life processes. Life processes are the processes. What are life processes? Are the processes which a living thing has to perform in order to keep or maintain its body's structure and function. Okay, so the living thing is a very broad classification, and we can define all the living thing in this definition. Okay, and life processes are, these are the life processes which a living thing needs to perform in order to keep its body's structure and function. Okay, so body को maintain करने के लिए every living thing has to do this, has to perform these life processes. Okay, so now in life processes, first of all we need to understand nutrition. Okay, and then we see the other life processes like breathing, like circulation, like nervous system. Okay, so first of all we are now looking at the nutrition. Okay friends, so life processes में first of all we are now will see nutrition. Okay, so as I already told you that the living thing has to perform some life processes, and the nutrition is one of them. Like we all know that if we need energy, we need to eat. Like our mom used to say since childhood, like if you will eat, you will become strong. Okay, so why they are saying this? Because the food is very important for us, and so the food is very important for all the living things. Okay, so and that food is called as nutrition. Actually the nutrition word is made up by the nutrients. Okay, nutrients word say it has been derived. Okay, so what is nutrition? Nutrition is okay, so nutrition is intake of nutrients and utilize it. Okay, utilize it to produce energy and perform functions of body. or perform functions of body or perform biological activities. Okay. So what is nutrition? Nutrition is a process in which a living organism take nutrient or utilize nutrient to produce energy, so that in all other biological activity, what are the biological activity? Like a cell has to grow in size, a cell has to perform its functions, like it has to produce some protein so that these protein can work. Okay? So these are the biological activity, these are the cellular activity, and each cell needs energy to perform its biological activity, whatever it is. Okay? So for the biological activity, a living thing needs food, a living thing need nutrient, and the process of taking a nutrient and utilizing nutrient is called the nutrition. Now, type of nutrition. So nutrition can be of two types. Okay. First is autotrophic nutrition and other is heterotrophic nutrition. Okay. So what are those two terms? Okay, so what we know? We know first of all, in living thing we know ourselves better. So what we do? We take food, like we take roti, or we take rice, or we take pulses, and we eat it. Okay, in our digestive tract, like whatever we eat, that first we chew, then it goes down through the food pipe into the stomach, and then from the stomach into the intestine. Okay, then from the small intestine to the large intestine, and then finally we expel the waste material called the stool or feces. Okay, and in this way we take our food and our nutrition from the other sources, like plant sources, or some who are non-vegetarian from the animal sources, they also take from animal sources. So in this way what we do, we are taking from the other sources our nutrition, and this is nutrition which is organic in nature. And what we know that glucose is very essential, and we take glucose for quick energy. Why? Because glucose is the simpler compound, glucose is the simpler compound which our cells utilize, which our cells hydrolyze, break down glucose, and they form the energy in form ATPs, and these ATPs are used in different kind of work. So in this way we take our nutrition, we take the nutrition from the other source. But there are some organisms, there are some living things which make their own nutrition. Okay, so these organisms, what they do, they take inorganic substances from the surrounding, and they produce their own food, they produce their own carbohydrate food, and they utilize it to produce the energy. Okay, so in this way the living organism, they take their nutrition. Now what is autotrophic and what is heterotrophic? So auto means what? Self. Okay, we say automatic start है, तो what is it? Self start, खुद से start, automatic mechanism है जिससे कि वो खुद start हो जाती है गाड़ी. तो auto means self, and trophic means nutrition. Okay, जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि some organism, what they do, they take the inorganic substances from the surrounding and they produce their own food, and later on they utilize that food and produce the energy. So the organism which produce their own food by utilizing the inorganic compound and they produce the organic compound, they are called autotrophic, and such organisms are called autotrophs. Okay, so autotrophic nutrition is what? Okay, so it is a type of nutrition in which an organism take inorganic compound from the surrounding and produce organic compound from them and produce energy from it. Okay, so what they are called? They are called autotroph, and this type of nutrition is called as autotrophic nutrition. So mainly the plant are autotrophic in nature. Why? Because they take carbon dioxide and water from the surrounding and they produce their own organic compound food, mainly which is sugar, and then they utilize this sugar and they produce ATPs by hydrolyzing this organic compound or hydrolyzing this sugar or carbohydrate. So the plants are called as autotrophs because they are autotrophic in nutrition. Okay, then heterotrophic nutrition. Hetero means होता है different and trophic means nutrition. So जो different source से the organism which take organic food source from the other sources like the plants, like the autotroph or other sources, and then they utilize it, they hydrolyze it and they produce their energy. They are called heterotrophic in nutrition, and these organisms are called heterotrophs. So first of all, in the autotrophic nutrition we will see the plant nutrition in which it produce its own food, and the process by which it produce its own food is called photosynthesis. Okay, so first of all we will see the photosynthesis.